Wanted to know, is it possible to S-rank every mission ready or not with just a taser? For those that have missed the last couple episodes, the rules of this are pretty simple. No guns, lethal or non-lethal, to include stun launchers. My team cannot assist me in any way, even something as simple as equipment. I will be doing this completely solo. And then finally, I will be putting a counter in top left to track how many times I've died or restarted. Now that you know the rules, join me as we suffer through this. We start our quest on Lethal Obsession. This map is interesting. Sudden shift down in difficulty, in my opinion. I know generally there's only 3 to 4 suspects, and the layout of the house is arguably simpler than prior missions. I expect it to be easier overall than most of the missions on the list. The big thing to remember is the traps that are randomly placed around the map. I'm sure it's happened to you before, it's happened to me. You're almost done, and then forget the traps, open a door and randomly get your life blown off. And then, more importantly, recalling from prior run-throughs, the major problem was one of the criminals had the tendency to randomly cancel their life subscription when cornered. I'm not sure exactly how to navigate this, but decided the best way to mitigate this inconvenience would be to enter each floor independently from the outside, instead of going floor to floor from the inside. Entering the first floor, it is strange that there is no one here. Every single time that I have gone through this prior, there's always been someone. So this is going to be a problem later on because they're all going to be grouped up together upstairs. Making my way up to the top floor, I stick my handy-dandy mirror gun under the door, spotting my first suspect well within taser range. The plan is to simply peek the door, throw a flashbang, rush the room, with the intent to apprehend him. Well, as always, it never goes as planned. This other guy that I had seen planned differently. Adding another death to the scoreboard, I decided to do a pro gamer move. Quickly securing the upstairs, I exited and promptly made my way to the bottom floor. The good news this time, there was a suspect, meaning that they weren't going to be all grouped up together. Almost dying, I expertly apprehended him with no issues. Upstairs, however, was suspiciously calm. I knew I still needed to find the most unpredictable of all suspects, Birdman, or what I would call him as Birdman. It's kind of funny, the first couple times I'd actually played through this, I had thought this guy had actually just covered himself in feathers. I didn't realize that he was just wearing a oddly formed ghillie suit. Anyway, Birdman was gracious enough to make an appearance instead of punching the ticket, if you will. And at this point, knowing all the suspects had been secured, my paranoia kicked in and I decided to disarm all the traps in the house before I even started looking for evidence, so that I didn't accidentally blow myself up and have to restart. After quickly securing the rest of the evidence, we were one mission closer to completing our quest. Moving on to Ides of March, the first time I played through the campaign, I died so many times during this mission. I admittedly didn't know how to find the traps, and I would just open doors praying that I wouldn't get blown up. Going into it now, it's definitely still a concern with the amount of traps in the map. However, the more pressing issue is navigating the long hallways and large center rooms with just a taser, since we have a very limited reach. Luckily, the suspect was right in front of me. I gave him a quick zap of 50,000 volts and was well on my way. The rest of the rooms went pretty smoothly, and not to flex or anything, I even secured 3 suspects all at once while I was using the taser. I reached the final room, and I'm excited. I did pretty well, so far so good. Thinking it was smooth sailing from this point. Maybe there would be 1 or 2 gunmen left, and I'm home free. Well, I ended up flying too close to the sun once again. Adding 1 more death to the scoreboard, I restart only slightly pissed, seeing we made it so far. Once again entering the lounge area confident in recreating the same success, and I get shot in the face. Turns out I couldn't do it a second time. Once again adding another point on the scoreboard, I get to work clearing again. At this point, there's no method to the madness. Since I took so much time prior, I go in guns a-blazing because I feel like I'm just going to die again. I proceed somewhat recklessly, but maybe it's what I needed all along. The slow, methodical just created too much hesitancy. Once again, I clear all the rooms thinking this is it. I cut the final suspect with a sense of relief, and then nothing happens. Someone was floating around randomly, and I would have to hunt them down. The fear and disappointment was setting back in. I was so close. I'd rather not get shot again right at the end, but the way it was looking, very well could happen. I go back into the hallway to start my search when the gunman conveniently finds me instead. I get another lovely face full of lead, thinking, well, I'm going to die. Somehow I don't die. I quickly bandage myself up and throw up my last flashbang, knowing if I were to miss, that would probably be wraps, because I don't think I'm going to be able to close the distance with the taser. I peek around the door. To my relief, he has actually surrendered. With that, I rush over and cuff him before he gets any wise ideas. In my opinion, this has to be one of, if not, the most stressful parts, though. It's happened before where I think I'd done everything perfectly just to find out someone had gotten shot by one of the suspects or something along those lines. Watching the counter slowly tick up to see the beautiful S rank, I was relieved. I could finally leave this horrendous level behind me. So, to answer your question, can you S rank every level in Ready or Not with just a taser? Maybe. Only time shall tell, but so far progress has been made. I'd be curious to see what you guys think of these levels. Did you run into any issues as well? If you guys decided to try the challenge, let me know how it's going, because I'd be curious what your death counter would be at. Anyways, that's all I have for now. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching.